Hey, church family, it's Pastor Brian here, and oftentimes I'll send an email out to let everybody know what's going on, keep everybody informed with what's going on in the church, but for a variety of reasons, I wanted to send a video this time. With the rising concerns of COVID-19 and this most recent Delta variant that we are challenged by and what we find ourselves by, I want to encourage one another, and I want to address some concerns about our church and how we can address the rising concerns that we face. We have a value of the church gathered, and we uphold this value. We believe there's something very powerful that happens, something very encouraging and eternal that happens when we gather together in the same room, young and old, men and women, together to worship, to declare God's worth, to declare his praises, to pray with one another, to learn together, to apprentice ourselves after Jesus. That there's something very encouraging when we can gather and see each other and remind each other to get our eyes off of the temporal and to lift our gaze to the eternal. And so we remain committed to the value of the church gathered. But while we're committed to that value of the church gathered, we also recognize the concerns of health concerns and illnesses and COVID and the Delta variant and the various other challenges that face us with that. So we want to gather in a way that is as safe as possible. And so what I want to share with you is and remind you of some of the things that we're doing as a church to stay as safe as possible in our gatherings when we gather on Sundays together. There's some things that we're doing as a church body, and there's some things that you can do as someone who's coming to our church gatherings to keep us as safe as possible. I wrote down some notes so I didn't forget anything, so I wanted to kind of go over those. The first one is you'll know that when you come in, we're keeping our rows separated out a little bit further, that they're not back to back right next to each other, and that's to give some extra space so that you don't feel overcrowded. You don't feel like you come in to a room where you're just right on top of other people, shoulder to shoulder and front to back. So we're keeping our rows separated out. You also notice that there's tables on the side walls so that you can have even a little bit more space. Or if you have young children with you and you don't want to put them in their classrooms, you can keep them with you at the table and you can have a game or a coloring page, or you can have some toys there that they can play with at those tables. We want to keep those available for our families, for young kids, and for those that just need a little extra space. So we're doing that, and we're going to continue and maintain doing that to keep a safe distance as we gather. You also notice when you come into main entrance doors, both entrance doors, there's offering boxes that are mounted on the wall. So when you come in and you've brought your tithes and your offerings with you, you can just drop those in those boxes and someone will come and gather those at another time, at a safe time. So you can just do that right away when you come in. When we do celebrate communion, while you'll be dismissed to come forward, we will dismiss us in a little bit extra space between you and the person in front of you. And you'll notice that while there are trays to get the bread and the cup, there's also individually wrapped communion elements. So if you would rather take the individually wrapped communion elements and not from the trays, you're very welcome to do that as well. And we're going to continue to do that when we celebrate communion. You'll notice in the lobby, our hospitality, the coffee bar, that we have our team there that is still serving coffee and hot chocolate out, but they're serving it to you so as to minimize the number of hands that are touching those coffee pots and the hot chocolate machines and the cups and all the extra stuff that goes with the coffee bar and the hospitality area. And lastly, you'll notice that we continue to maintain all the hand sanitizers all around. Some of them are mounted on the walls that are just motion censored, and some of them are the little hand pumps. But we continue to try and seek to be as safe and as clean of an environment as possible so we can gather safely and we can gather together to lift our eyes off of the temporal, chaotic stuff that's around us and lift our eyes and our gaze to the eternal and to see God and his overarching story at work, even now in 2021 with all the stuff we've had to deal with. Well, those are things that we're doing, but what about you? As you gather, as you come and you gather in our place, what kind of things that you can do? Well, the first is, if you're not feeling well, we invite you to stay home, especially if you have a temperature or a fever at all, that we'd invite you to just stay home. We have a revamped online campus. You can go to limacrossroads.org. You can find the online campus right there, and you can still engage during the worship gatherings, but you can do it online and not gather when you're not feeling well. So if you're not feeling well, we invite you to stay home. But when you stay home, we want to invite you to stay connected and to not check out, but to connect with us on our website and on our online campus. On that online campus, you're going to find a pray with me or a prayer request button. And you can click that button and somebody will pray with you or connect with you in a private chat right there, real time, be able to connect with other people. So again, stay home if you're not feeling well, but stay connected. Don't let that disconnect you as well. I said that the rows are going to be spread out, but when you come in, maybe you could spread out as well. Give a little extra space between you and the people near you. You can smile and wave at them from a bit of a distance, but give a little bit extra space as we gather. If you're looking for a little bit even more space than what you might typically find, I invite you to come to the 9 o'clock service instead of the 10:45. The 9 o'clock tends to have a little bit extra spacious room in that service, and so I invite you to come to the 9 o'clock instead of the 10:45, and you can find some extra space because of that. And while face coverings and masks are not required at this time, you're still very welcome. If that would help us to remain and keep a safe gathering, you're still very welcome to come and wear a face mask or a face covering of some kind. We'd rather see you in a mask than not see you. And so we invite you to come and be a part of our gatherings. Be encouraged by our presence. And if that means that we can wear masks, then we'll do that as well. And lastly, consider getting the vaccine. More and more of our Crossroadian families are getting the vaccine, and maybe it's something for you to give some consideration as well. Now, I recognize that some of those steps and some of those precautions are a little controversial in our day, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. As followers of Jesus, we're called to love one another, to walk towards one another in grace and gentleness, to be known by the way in which we care and love one another. And so let's do it that way. Let's prioritize our gatherings, but let's prioritize them in a way that are safe and that encourage all people to gather with us, to encourage one another, and to go from there. Hey, one other thing that I'd let you know, that when we seek to gather together, we need each other when we gather, to remind ourselves to get our eyes off of the immediate, chaotic, temporal stuff that we are so surrounded by, and remind us of the higher, grander story of God that is above all, that is eternal. Well, in addition to our gatherings, we also gather in groups to connect with each other. And so if you would like, we are relaunching and restarting a bunch of life groups, in-person life groups. And so we'd love you to be a part of those. Maybe you've never been a part of a life group. Maybe it's been a long time since you've been a part of a life group. But maybe today, maybe this month is a month that you say you want to be a part of a life group and connect. But we also want to connect in a safe way there too. And so we're going to be starting some online life groups that are strictly going to be using either Zoom or Google Meet or FaceTime or some other online platform. And so if you want to be a part of one of those and stay connected with us, even if we're connected through a screen, let us know. Hit us up in the message line and let us know you want to be a part of one of those online life groups or virtual life groups, and we want to stay connected and encourage one another to hold fast to the truth and the hope we have in Jesus, and to be encouraged by brothers and sisters as we uphold this value of the church gathered. So we hope to see you on Sunday. Hope to see us as we gather together in person. And if you're not feeling well, or if you're not able to gather with us in person yet, gather with us online, but stay engaged. Connect with us. Let's not slide into anonymity online, but let's stay connected with the church body. Well, be blessed today and this weekend. I hope to see you on Sunday, and I'll take care. Bye-bye.